Hey guys, welcome back to the Corrective Culture Podcast. I was thinking last night how funny it is that like I'm always introing it.
Yeah,
you know,
I just like it like that.
I reckon.
Should I do one?
Yeah,
time and
100.
see
I
how
reckon we
do
go
it?
one
Right
for
now.
one.
Do it right
yeah,
now.
go.
Hey guys. I was like, you actually really have a good radio voice, you know? Like,
You got a good radio voice too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just can't follow it into something. I guess.
Oh.
Yeah.
Talk to the guys. Tell them where we
Fix
are.
me.
Tell them where we are.
Fix me, daddy.
Yeah. So we have Nicholas Perry on the podcast today. Our good friend, Rhythm Health is his stage name, Instagram name, and yeah, nice to have you again, bro.
But who are you really?
Wow. Yeah. Well, that's after it's nice, and then we'll go to that question. So good. So fucking good to be here. Genuinely have missed you guys.
Let's do, bro.
It's kind of weird for me to reflect on how much time it's been, especially since I met you, dude. It's been like nearly 7 years, man.
Yeah. True.
Actually.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow,
Crazy.
has it been that long?
On the way here, I was
Really?
thinking about when we did that session at yours. Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you gave us a massage and that.
That's
That was
right.
Joe.
Place
Yeah.
at, wherever was that Tweed? I don't know where that was.
No, that was Tugun.
Tugun,
So
right.
South Gold Coast.
Yeah.
That was the first time you introduced me to the obturator internus.
Oh yeah.
Externus.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you got right up into my
Internus release.
anus. And it was really good. It was nice.
Just below the sphincter, you'll
You'll find that
it's
muscle.
actually a really good one.
It
And
is.
I remember I actually decimated your pec major tissue as well. That
Yes,
was fun.
you did.
And since we last saw each other, well, especially since the podcast, is you've had a child.
DOS children. Oh yeah, DOS children.
Yeah, wait, did you have one?
Yeah, my boy is over 2 years old. He's 2.5.
Okay,
And
no,
then
okay, maybe you did have just had a child then.
my little girl is 7 months.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And how's life changed in that sense?
In every way imaginable.
Yeah.
Like I have changed fundamentally. So my relationship with life and my relationship with the world has changed fundamentally.
Mm-hmm.
Like my awareness, my lens of perception, my sense of responsibility and my sense of duty around like service and contribution has like leveled up incomprehensibly. It's just a whole new level of awareness to operate from, a whole new level of accountability too.
And what about your relationship with your partner since having a child together? How does that change?
It changes fundamentally, absolutely. So, how can I articulate the change? The change is so.
You still rosin that or
Still throws a leg over. Oh yeah, still get on the workbench. Yes, less so. So definitely with this stage of life and parenthood, there's less sex
for sure? That's like
Yep,
a given. Hey, yeah.
And there's no part of us that's like bummed about it. Where we still do, and okay, maybe this is a good way to lubricate what I'm trying to say. Is the way it's changed the relationship is it has expanded our relationship in a typically expansive way. We are deeper in union. We're deeper in our shared vision and values. Like it has to go that way, and if it doesn't go that way, it's torturous. And we definitely, we get the feedback in the relationship where there is disconnect there, and then inevitably those things that are put to the side because it's like inconvenient to address or we're tired to address it, like inevitably we end up in resentment, and that's the prerequisite for splitting up. So we have we've cultivated a culture in the relationship where we recognize that it needs more intentional work.
Yeah,
the connection and the grounding each other and regulating each other and cultivating intimacy and expanding into intimacy doesn't happen on its own anymore. Like it organically would when we're like, oh, let's go in the van and do, you know, like 3 nights, you know, somewhere and blah, and it's just, we're just in the flow. This stage of parenthood demands structure.
Yeah.
To, you know, to balance and manage the responsibilities of self, of family, of fucking business, and of course of each other, our relationship in that. So we've had to create structure. Yeah, we've had to create structure around those things in a way we didn't have to before. So that's another way that it's changed.
Yeah, and I guess that could happen even without children. Hey, how you were talking about, I guess maybe enough time of being with someone, the same thing can start to happen maybe even without the child, in the sense of the 9 to 5, like you both just go to work, come home, watch a movie, fucking do it all over again, you know?
Yep, massively.
Because you see a lot of, I guess the problem with a lot of relationships is people get bored, and you wonder where that boredom stems from. Does it stem from wanting to have sex with other people, or just like the excitement of the same thing over and over again goes out the window? And like you said, it's making time for those things, because you can reflect on other people's relationships sometimes, and you look, you're like, fuck, I can see how that would be depressing after a while if you see their rhythm, you know,
monotonous and mundane, and depleting of its zest.
Yeah,
there's actually a framework for this. I learn't this in my men's work. The 4 priorities. So you might have heard me talk about it. So for like the modern man in the modern world, who's, you know, just about everybody, as you say, kids or not, there's 4 primary priorities that we would hope to have positioned in a functional flow. So work, your partner, your family, and yourself. So when those priorities fall out of order, the feedback will come. Right? There's literally a position that those need to land, and if they don't land in that way, over time you will get the negative feedback of putting things, you know, out of whack. So how it needs to be is self first, absolutely, right? In absence of that, whatever you're putting above you will resent. Not only that, you will deplete, and so you can't actually show up in your like fullness and your inspired expression, because you're not putting yourself first. Next has to be your partner, has to be. And that's really counterintuitive for a lot of people. The third priority is family. So that relates to, obviously, if you got kids, that's what we're referring to. If you don't have kids, who's in your inner circle? Then work. So the paradigm a lot of people get caught in, myself included, I just default to this and I don't even realize, is work first, me last, kids second, and my partner third. But it can land anywhere. So when it's positioned in that way, and I tell myself stories that make it okay to do that, when I tell myself the story that, well, I need a provider and I need to pull my weight and I need to, you know, like contribute to the mortgage and this and that, so work has to be here, it's in service to the relationship. That's the story that justifies me putting work above it, you know, everything else. The reality, though, the feedback that manifests is disconnection in the relationship, depletion in my health. It demonstrates something to my kids that I don't want them to model in their own adult life. And
so true.
And it becomes dysfunctional.
It's like you're out of alignment with the divine. Hey, when you're putting work first, like you're out of trust of the universe.
Yes, right on.
Because you're living from a place of survival.
Yep. Survival generally pushes things in that dysfunctional order. The stories that we tell ourselves keep us in the dysfunctional order. And the amazing thing is how quickly reordering those priorities, so literally making the choices in your life that go, actually, I'm going to create structure around my self-care again, and I'm going to honor and discipline that. Libido's back, patience is back, nervous system's regulated, creation brain is back online, or, you know, all of those things that are synonymous with vitality are just like reinstated like that. And then when my partner or whoever's partner is feels like a priority again and isn't pushed up the back, then it's like, that resentment dissolves because it's not, you're in partnership again. You're on the same team again. You know where you're headed. But when work, it's like you imagine it as a bus. So number 1 priority is in the driver's seat. Number 4 is up the back. So it's like if I'm trying to fucking steer the direction of this, of the family, where are we going? I can hardly see out the windscreen because I'm valuing myself as the lowest priority here. I'm all the way up the back. And that's where it gets confusing. That's where I can feel disillusioned and jaded by my work, things like that, because it's not in service to me anymore. But when it's up the back, it doesn't mean I work less. It's just that I've created a functional structure for those other things.
Yeah, that's magic.
Yeah,
it's good, hey.
Just structure. Structure's sort of what I take from that, How I watched this thing yesterday about how, like, for men, a lot of the time, them getting through something is to make themselves feel powerful again, in some sense, and that can come back to self, right? Just going to the gym and eating well, like it's the momentum that makes you feel powerful, and what was I going to go into again? Fuck, I need some coffee.
Well, structure was the kind of the doorway into your share.
Yeah. So just being structured, and I find when I'm going with the flow too much, it feels like chaos.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel optimal. Even though you're getting heaps of shit done, it feels like there's this constant feeling like we can all be better and you can get more done. I don't know. But that again, that relates down to work I'm trying to think of. But like, I've never actually thought about structure before in your relationship.
Yeah.
Or structure, like, all right, every Friday every second Friday we eat, we do this, we go somewhere. And that's where you're talking about that balance of work, because then work is going to provide the finances to then create those spontaneous, exciting things you can do with your partner.
Yeah.
That rely on a little bit of fucking cash, If you want to go to Paris, baby, let's go to Paris next week, like stuff like that. So.
Yeah, and I think like that's like fulfillment, hey, like, because you're successful, right? But fulfillment comes from something much deeper, I reckon. Like fulfillment comes from like purpose and like knowing that the money doesn't mean shit, but you can still do it anyway. It's
for helping others, eh?
Yeah. It's
like making someone else's life good with what you've done.
Yeah, I saw a meme today of like this mansion with like 4 Ferraris out the front, and then it's like, that's what you think you need, and then here it was like a farm with like animals and shit like that, and I'm like, yeah, but it depends. They're both pretty good, but if you know that that's just the shiny diamond and it's not going to bring happiness, and you have that too, it's kind of like this like balance that we can, in the Western world, use to our advantage and use it for some good too.
It's it's so cliche how money doesn't buy happiness, right? But it buys freedom. But it
buys Ferraris.
Dude, they go pretty fast.
Yeah, I've been pretty happy for a while. Yeah, but I remember when we did, like, say one day we did a really good sale and I made a lot of money, and I remember I was playing chess with my roommate Rowdy, and I remember looking at it like, I'm not even 1% happier right now.
Yeah, I know, me too.
Well, I didn't give a fuck if it's this amount or this amount. It's like, because you are where you are right now. I was sitting there playing chess, so it's like, and I was happy still, but I feel like I'm always, some sense, pretty happy. I'm never like down.
No, you are. You're very balanced like that.
Yeah, never.
And I think as the business has gotten bigger and we've seen sales go up and we've seen things like that, what it's taught me is really like about detachment. Because like there was a time there where I was like, remember I spoke at the last financial year meeting. I was like, I'm so stressed. I am so worried about this money going because if we don't have 50 grand in the account, how are we going to actually buy anything and keep moving forward? And biggest thing I've learned is like how to detach from money and have a good relationship with it, like, and complete trust. And you just keep moving forward. You keep trying to help people, put the good energy out there, and it just comes somehow. It's fucking bizarre. I mean, we have big goals and big dreams, but and you got to know where you're going, but still it's just when you can detach from it, it flows. When you try and hold on to it, it does not flow.
Yeah. It's easy to have big dreams with someone else too. Like I find like, because you feel like if you both got that big dream, it's using both your manifestation power, it's like 100%. you and Juliet. Hey, like,
yeah. That's the whole, as you guys are sharing, these insights and your personal process and self-reflections around like what's the consciousness behind the conflict I experience, whether it's real or not. It's like because we're talking about structure too, it's like the guiding structure, and another analogy is the filters for my decisions is the values hierarchy that I choose and embody. So
true.
When you talk about big payday, and you're like, well, I was good before that figure showed up.
Yeah.
So isn't that great feedback that sort of affirms, well, I'm living congruently. I'm living in alignment with the values hierarchy that's important to me. So I'm not dependent on that external feedback to be like, oh yeah, now like here's happiness, here's happiness, go spend your happiness. You're like, I'm playing chess, I'm present playing chess.
Yeah.
This is something that's important to me, uniquely to me. This is something that I would want to be doing. This is something, part of the reason I work is to have the spaciousness in my life to be present playing chess.
Yeah.
So true.
That's a guiding force in establishing structure in your life. It's going, what the fuck is important to me? And auditing what isn't important to me, but it seems to take priority, and then making that transition of, okay, well, I'm prioritizing that. Which values hierarchy am I being influenced by? Because pursuing that doesn't bring fulfillment, doesn't bring happiness, and there isn't a reciprocity in my efforts out to, the universe meeting me there. So there's an incongruence, and the feedback is showing up as fucking stress and disillusionment and all, burnout, all of that shit. So like you guys have been on the journey to create structure that is informed by your values hierarchy, which is really cool.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, because like we'd be doing it anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whether the money came or it didn't, we'd still be doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, we might not have a full-time filmer, but we'd be filming each other and creating.
Well, you didn't have a full-time film.
Yeah, I know. That only just came on.
Like you've done it. You've walked the path.
Yeah, exactly.
Stay true.
Yeah, exactly. I think for the listeners, like, what would be the, like, you say values, like how can the listeners out there get clear on their values and direction in life?
Yeah. It's super important. So whenever I anything I run or any time I coach someone, I really do start around this question, this inquiry, which is the core values framework. And I like to keep it simple. So anyone listening, it's like, yeah, there's a fucking shit ton of values, but you could say, 20 of them, and there's probably one word that you can capture the meaning of 3 of those values. So find, the point of writing core values down, connecting to what they are, and then writing them down, and then defining them in a way that's unique to you. It's to create simplification, right? So when your values hierarchy is easily accessible, your decision-making power and prowess becomes way more powerful. How do you do it? You fucking do whatever you need to do to release whatever charge in your body is distracting you, right? So if you have emotional charge, or if you're dysregulated in your nervous system, if you've got a monkey mind running, look, do something about that. Because how can I really offer a tool if you're in your own way in that aspect? And what I'm suggesting is that you need to get quiet, and you need to get idealistic in this process as well, which is to say, what are the things that are most important to you? Connect to your inner child, connect to your inner elder, connect to these inner figures, these inner advisors to you that actually go, fuck, if money were no object, this is what you'd be doing. Like whatever it is, just get all of the conditions out of the way, get the inner critic out of the way in particular that says that's wrong or that's immature or blah, blah. Like you need to meet with these aspects and just drop them just for 10 minutes in this exercise. go, fuck, this is important to me. This is important to me. When I don't get this in my life, I feel like I'm missing out. You know, I feel depleted or disconnected or misaligned. And find the 4 or 5 things that are most important to you and let yourself be surprised with what you get down. Write them down in a succinct way, and then in 1, maximum 2 sentences for each, define that. What is that? What does that mean? That word, what does that mean, and what does it look like? That would be the first process that I would, facilitate for anyone to go through. And then, like, the next step from there is to go, okay, now write a story that includes the expression of these values, right? So write a day in the life of you 5 years from now, real time, first person, that describes you expressing these values or how these values are built into your reality. So for me, it's like I wake up and my little gorgeous Magnolia is still asleep, and so is my partner. The sun pierces through, the window of our Queenslander house we always dreamed of having. So I get up, I drink my filtered water, and I walk around the backyard feeling the cold dew on my feet and just take in the essence of the 6 acres that we've lived. It's like I'm painting this picture. So in that, I've got family, that's a core value of mine. I've got solitude, that's a core value of mine. I've got health, that's a core value of mine. I've got connection, that's a core value of mine. Right, so it's just sort of woven in, and it's like, wow, okay, so those values expressed as my reality, fucking whatever the fuck you want. Whatever you want, no judgment.
Yeah, how cool is that?
So and you can just go all the way through this dream day.
That sounds like a good day, bro. I was
Yeah,
like,
That's just, mate, that's the first bloody 10 minutes.
That's awesome. I want to hear, what would yours be?
about I was thinking about that. I was like, and I was actually going to ask you the same thing, eh? But
Beat to it.
like if I think about, and actually took note of what you said before, how like disconnected or misaligned. I feel like the word that responds to me is misaligned, is when I'm doing things that are misaligned. So for me, if I think about the 5 years from now, I don't have a partner at the moment, right? But similar thing. That sounds really nice, actually. Like I imagine then the same story, but like waking up and training. I imagine waking up and nice. like everyone's asleep, whatever, and I'm going to the gym and I'm doing my moving my body, and I imagine studying, because I find misaligned if I'm not constantly learning about the body.
So learning is a core value of yours.
Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah,
I reckon teaching for sure too.
Like
yeah. Well, exactly. Learning to teach. Yeah. So I mean, I guess when you're teaching, the learning never stops, right? So yeah, and that does like you said, actually teaching, that does excite me. I get excited about, say, jumping on like someday in the future on like a Zoom, and there's all these sort of people that I want to learn. We're all talking about the shoulder, or we're all talking about whatever, and we're all sharing, and just good food, man. Always having access. Oh, and if maybe even a chef.
Yeah,
like I think about
this
that.
is what I mean. See that
Yeah.
giggle and that laugh?
Yeah.
I would invite you to meet with any resistance around saying that without a giggle and a laugh.
Yeah,
so
true.
a giggle and a laugh represents edge feedback.
Yeah.
In a therapy context. So it's like where there's laughs, like, oh, you just hit an edge.
Because it sounded ridiculous almost. Like
That's your judgment. So
Yeah.
you caught the judge, that's ridiculous. So then you'll find the belief system
Very
underneath
true,
that
eh?
of like unworthiness or whatever that is. So you're like, oh, I can, in stating the dream as you are,
Yeah.
in the idealistic way, the bold and beautiful idealistic way that you are, you're going to meet your resistance with a lot more clarity than just trying to do shadow work and shadow hunting with no actually
That's
direction
really
and
cool, man.
purpose. So
That's really
anyway,
cool.
that was just a little side note.
And I think I like the feeling I want to provide. That's in me, as a deep in me, is like when I think about making money and learning and doing all this sort of stuff, I don't even think about making money for me. Besides getting a nice car and house, like whatever, I still think about my purpose. My purpose is going to be teaching and learning the body, right? I think about the excitement of how I can create excitement in my loved ones' lives, my family, girlfriend, kids, whatever it is, that's what excites me. I think, oh, I can take them around the world and here, and they never got to worry about their safety and security sorted. And then the girl can be in her feminine energy, the kids can have fun, you know, and they can, and I know that when I have children, I'm going to be very involved in the sense of their upbringing and their...
Dad, can I have an ice cream?
Yeah.
Sure, son.
Like, I'm going to be training, they're going to be training, you know, because I'm not going to force it down the throat, but I'm just going to be represent for them.
Yeah.
And I know I'm going to be involved in what's instilled in their head, and just taking ownership for their life, because I want to create little kings and queens, you know? Yeah, so I guess that's probably it. Never even thought about that too much. Funny enough. I always think about, like, I never think about the story. You think about the things still when you think about what you want in the future, eh? You don't think about a nice story, and that's a really good thing.
Well,
so
you've got the prompts and the core details of the story, and then just to get the right brain online, it's like fucking write a cool story. Another thing to do is draw it.
Yeah,
paint a fucking picture. But yeah, thanks for sharing. Love that. It sounds definitely like you're grounded and connected in that bigger picture for yourself.
Yeah, I sort of know what I want. I know what I want out of that, and I know what I want. Like, even when we talk about like partners, I know exactly now this is the sort of partner I want, and I'm not settling on anything but that. You know, like I've
describe it. You're going to do a shout out.
someone
you
that
take
trains
some
and
resumes.
cooks.
My dog has a better ass than her. Remember when Bobby Running Fox said that to me?
Really?
Jen was like, I think I told you, I was like, about the chick with the big ass. I was like, well, first of all, I'd like her to have a big booty, like. And then this shaman, this Native American guy, he's the best guy ever, but I really feel like he took that in the wrong context. He's like, well, why don't you just root my dog then, pretty much.
You're like, is it consensual? Like, now?
Didn't even get to the stage where I could talk about the deeper stuff. Eh?
Yeah. You're like, yeah.
But I would say that a fit girl is definitely something that I.
So what does fitness demonstrate to you? What is that an embodiment of? Which value?
Self-love.
Okay, so self-respect, self-love, health, I'm assuming is for both of you is a core value.
Fuck yeah.
You couldn't be in relationship with somebody who didn't hold that highly in their values hierarchy, like that sort of thing. Yeah,
I think well, because I do it. So if I'm going to do it all the time, I sort of like I want to train with my partner in that, you know.
Cool.
So
you want your kids to do it.
I want my kids to do it. So I want them to embody, and I want to be attracted to them physically. I think that's probably the major thing. I want to stay attracted to them physically because I know like that's the start of it. The emotion is there, but if the physical attraction isn't there, then I won't be around long enough for the emotions to get a hold of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's why I just want to. I like the strong feminine masculine dynamic, sort of in the bedroom and that sexual sort of like, fuck yeah, she's been sexy for me. You know what I mean? Like I like that.
Yeah.
And then in that turn, I'll provide a life that's unique. That's the dynamic that I have in my head anyway.
Great. So good to know.
And
Clarity.
That's cool.
What about yourself, Jake? What's your story?
Story for
you living by your core values 5 years from now.
I just had a picture of a house on the beach, which I wrote down 5 years ago as my goal. A house on the beach at Watala, 4 dogs, 2 kids, and a loving partner. So I know that that's definitely
great
where I'll be material wise and relationship wise. My core values are always going to be food and training. I'm going to do that forever. I think spontaneity is like huge for me.
Yeah.
And creating, I think as I get further down this journey, I think creating is what I'm really passionate about. Like whether, like just recently I'm starting to make a little bit of music now. Haven't really been telling anyone because I just want to do it and not speak it, but I've just told the whole world anyway.
Yeah.
Give the power away.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying like that's what I love learning. So like progression. If I don't have progression in my life, I feel like just progression for me is happiness. So if I'm learning chess, I'm learning off the best how to play it. You know, I just like I remember what you said. One fun thing you're like your ability to play the long game is amazing, and I think like in my head that's how I think about my things. I'm like, okay, I might not be good at making music now or the best at jiu-jitsu now, but God damn you, 10 years from now, I'll get there. You know what I mean?
There's a man who's 10 years older than you that's calling you forward.
Yeah,
you know?
I feel like that,
Yeah,
man. I
yeah.
feel like that, and very much so. I feel like I've been very blessed. Like I would know I've got angels looking after me or something like that. But I've always felt like I've been guided.
Yeah.
So even though sometimes I'm not the happiest in my life, I've always had a deep inner knowing of security, and no matter what, losing dad or mum or whatever, I've always known that there's something much bigger than this. I don't know why, but I've always had that feeling, and even as a kid, Dad used to say that to me. So, yeah, I think going back to the core values, definitely spontaneity, definitely the work on the relationships is huge for me. Like, and when I say work on the relationships, I don't mean you better change to be with me. I mean, like, my relationship with myself around the relationship has been like the most joyful thing that I've ever done with a partner.
Yeah.
Because always I've been like, next best thing, grass is greener.
Yeah.
That whole thing, and it's like the dog chasing its tail, and it's brought me a lot of suffering. So over the last few years, I've really learned to sit in it and be like, okay, what is that? Why do I feel uneasy? Why do I always want the next best thing? Why can't I sit still and be happy and grounded in my life and know that it's all perfect and it's all where it's meant to be? So I've had a lot of joy out of that. I also see myself working with I'd like to work with like the dying one day as well.
Yeah.
I just to grow and I feel like there's nothing more that would be more growing than that.
Yeah. Love that. I have a similar want.
Yeah.
For my probably 20-year vision would be I'd love to get into death doulaing, or I've got a dear friend who does that.
Yeah,
Haley,
dude, that helped me a lot with
shout
Dad,
out.
man.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, seeing the body. Like after that helped immensely.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I sat with Dad for like half an hour, 40 minutes with my hand on his head, and I was like, fuck, that was amazing. Like, cause like you said, it brings it to the neocortex. It makes you understand that they're gone.
And the mammalian body, the
Yeah, yeah.
mammalian brain too.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so it properly initiates grief.
Yeah.
So it's not conceptual grief. It's like,
Yeah.
right,
Man.
So, yeah, it's amazing. Hey,
So that was going to be what I was going to ask you actually, because both of you have lost your father.
To the same thing, aortic aneurysm.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
and relatively recently, in the last couple of years. So, what did like how was your, with all the work you've done? It's hard to think how you were saying you can't think your emotions away, But was there any tips you could give to someone that is going through that or about to go through that? And is it similar or completely different to an emotional relationship breakup?
interesting question. Great question.
Depends if you've resolved it or not, and then you break up with someone.
Yeah. I'm gonna say different. If I had to answer, I'd say it's different.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Much deeper. The losing of a parent feels like so much deeper, dude. It's like you lose a bit of yourself.
Oh yeah.
That's what I felt.
Well, I
like.
guess I could imagine like I didn't shed a tear in my breakup. Like,
Yeah.
if I was my mum or dad was to cry.
Oh, bro, it's a deep,
Because it
deep
wasn't
thing.
like when I went through a breakup, the emotion wasn't me wanting to cry. It wasn't me trying to hold it in either. It just literally wasn't something that was going to make me cry. I don't know what it was, hey. But death gets me. Fuck. Like at his, dad's funeral or anyone's funeral, it's like, fuck, like I just can't believe it, Like it's such a crazy, more visceral feeling compared to just a relationship breakup.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, so I see birth and death as portals, right? So I don't feel like my dad dying took a part of me. So my son being born changed me. It initiated me into the next iteration of who I am and who I'm here to become, as did the death of my dad. It was an initiation. So shocking and grief's an umbrella term. Grief isn't one emotion. Grief's the name of a process that includes all emotions, and it doesn't have an end date either. So, I walk with grief now, and that has been a big part of my healing process. Much of my suffering early to mid-20s was in my repression of grief. That was motivated through a fear of grief, a distrust and a fear of grief that it was going to swallow me and take me forever. So I hardened myself and stayed at the surface level of anger and rage, which is the gatekeeper for this, the other stuff underneath.
Yeah, push it deep.
Yeah. So, so that impacted my entire life. It impacted every relationship that I ever had, because there's no compartmentalizing of that, suppressing the emotional body. It's like you suppress it. So it kept me shut down. It kept me at a level, and if relationships were ushering me to a level deeper than that, then I'd sabotage them somehow, So anyway, that was the motivator for me to go, okay, what the fuck is this? The doorway that I had to step through to get back in relationship with my emotional body and mobilize my emotional body again was my father wound. So I don't know if people understand what I'm talking about, but it's like father wound, mother wound. Just about everybody's got some level of wounding around the relationship with that parent that is, a vehicle of their maturation, their spiritual growth. It's like, go into that wound. You'll learn about yourself. You'll learn about your true self. You'll learn about relationships, whatever. So my relationship with my dad was a pain point. It was just a fucking pain point for so much of my life. And, the real exploration of what that was, which I was completely unconscious and perplexed by, started with Kiki. When I was a client of Kiki's, not even a student of hers. And that's where it began. So, Jesus, how old would I have been? 24, maybe?
Yeah, I think about 24. It was 1 year before I was working with her.
Yeah. So then, anyway, I was just relentlessly pursued it. Didn't stop. I feel like I'm digressing hard here, but I'll just run with it anyway.
No,
because I'm just basically talking about the impact my father passing has had on me.
Yeah.
It'll help. It's, you're being guided. It's going to help a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, totally. Well, it was just one of the most, going into that father wound has been one of the most enlightening and grueling processes that I've ever consistently stuck with. It wasn't till I was 30 that I had a major breakthrough. I was in India in a training, a temple arts training, ISTA, and I did an aspecting exercise, and this is after quite a few days of big learning and practicing big emotional release and going fucking deep. So I was, warmed up.
Yeah, and the juices were flowing.
The juices were flowing, and I was so ready. I wanted it.
Yeah,
still couldn't articulate what I wanted, but I was like,
something's in there.
This is what I don't have. This is what I need to be free and happy. An aspecting exercise. So if you don't know what that is, basically, there's two cushions on the floor, and I'm sitting on my cushion, and opposite me is an empty cushion. And what I do is I call down the energy of my dad. And so I sit in my cushion, that's me, this is where my energy is anchored, and I ask a question to that empty pillow, right, where the energy is. Once I ask the question, I swap cushions, and then I sit in that energy. So I'm calling in the consciousness of my dad. So I asked the question I genuinely didn't have the answer to. In this process, and just followed it, sat in the energy, and it was like, whoa, blah, blah, blah. Like it just, the answer came out of me. I was like, oh God, or like it's the love and empathy and my dad's pain. I was like, oh, fuck. I fucking understand that. So then I swapped cushions again. well, I need to say this to you, and that leads to this question, and then okay, cool, and now swap, sit in, and it's like, oh my, and then the response came through, and before this point, I hadn't cried in 15 years.
Wow.
So I was 30, so it was a whole nother lifetime I'd lived, 15 years. And then anyway, the
floodgates.
Sick. And so, I'd had some cool breakthroughs and stuff already, but still I held my dad in judgment, and that created separation. And the irony of that is the reason I held him in judgment was because I so deeply wanted the connection that the boy in me never felt fully met and satiated in. So I'm speaking about two things here. I'm speaking about the process healing my father wound, which has nothing to do with him. It's my work, right? And I'm talking about reanimating my emotional body, like getting back into relationship with that. So anyway, this was just one of those checkpoints along the way. Now, just a bit less than a year before my dad died, I and my son had now been born, right? And so my projections on how I wanted my dad to show up as a grandfather were really strong, right? And that was touching the same father wound, right? Projection, you should be doing it like this, right? And because you're not, I feel like this. And so you're wrong and I'm right and fucking. So it's just that same, projection back and forth, whatever. And I didn't even express this to him. I did in a text and whatever. So I had space held for me by literally over 50 dudes. I was at a training, doing a leadership training with Mankind Project. And I had a big fucking process come up, and that's what we do in that community. If man needs support, we support him, and I just happened to be the guy on that weekend, and I did this fucking enormous, the biggest process I've ever done. I'm screaming and crying and doing like gauntlet process where like breaking through and it just kept going and going. And what was so interesting was my mentor and his son were facilitating it. So I was looking at a father-son relationship, and it was utterly profound. And so it was the second last thread that I had to address, right? And where I got to, this is really interesting, right? And I had to get to this place because I was now a father myself. And the place I got to was fuck him. Actually fuck him. And I had to hold him to my nuts and go, fuck him. Right? And there was this, it wasn't all the way through, but it was part of the way through. And it was the part that I'd been avoiding where I'm like, I'm severing that. I have to sever that. I can't be the son yearning for his father's fucking whatever love. I couldn't father with that dynamic still alive in me. I couldn't be in my full father energy while I was still attached to this dynamic, aka the wound that needed me to, show up for myself in this awareness. So I was like, damn, like I walked away super empowered and just this big shift of, I realized, oh my God, I don't have to rescue Dad. Like all these other downloads came in, I don't have to rescue this man. I just don't. This is what we've got. This is enough. This is perfect. This is what he's fine. He's good. Like I don't have to emotionally carry his stuff anymore. I don't have to try and resolve his childhood trauma for him and deliver it to him on a silver platter of like, here's the resolution. Yeah. Impossible. Fucking impossible. And I just woke up to that.
That's cool.
Then, probably 6 weeks later, I did Toad. I don't know if you've done Toad or heard of Toad. No. So anyway, Toad, we're talking about death. Toad releases, it's a venom from a toad from South America. One of the most powerful psychedelics you can get amongst. I think the molecule is called 5-MeO-DMT, which apparently is the same molecule released when you die. well. I've heard people say there's life before you have Toad and life after you have Toad, and I can vouch for that.
Yeah.
Changed me. The intention I took in was to resolve any last bits of this father fucking piece that I've been working on for over a decade. In the trip, kind of regretted it.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't, but it was the most grueling experience of my life. I got, in the first trip, wherever it took me into the scene where my father got abused as a child by the clergy, the Catholic Church. It took me there.
Whoa.
And it took me to him in this dark fucking room. It's this. This has been the wound. This has been the generational wound.
Jesus.
That I've picked up as a boy, because that wound that he suffered as a little boy impacted how he could show up as a father.
Did he tell you about that at a previous time?
I knew that this was in his history.
Yeah.
So that, as Carl Jung teaches, we got to take on the unfinished business of our parents. So I took that on super young. Could never figure it out though, but if I could figure it out, we'd have the father-son relationship I want. Yeah. So I've got to figure it out, and fuck you, and fucking all of that frustration, that process, that life process. So it took me there. And I remember curling up into a ball and mimicking the little boy, what he was doing, right? And I was like, fuck, take me to hell. Like, I want to go to hell. So it was already fucked up enough, felt like I was dying. And I was like, I'm here to go all the way. And then, so I curled up in a ball, and I was actually physically doing this. I couldn't see with my eyes, but I was fully in my mind's eye. And I squeezed, and I held there, and I held there, and I held there, and I was waiting for something, like some catharsis, and nothing happened, and that was the realization. Then I went, and exploded out. I was like, this is nothing. I'm thinking it's here. It's not here. It's not even me. It's not even mine. And I exploded out and went, took in this like fucking cosmic breath, and my son, my little baby boy soul, was like, kind of like the Teletubbies baby in the sun. He was looking at me with this like pure, yes, Dad, you fucking got it. Now we get to have that.
That's crazy.
Oh, it was profound.
Shit.
And then anyway, that's probably the most relevant thing. I did Toad. I'd had another hit about 10 minutes later, thinking, I'd done my work. It's going to be great. It was fucking a million times worse, but it was a different thing.
That was the death one, wasn't it?
That was the death one. That's where I actually died. I had to stop. I stopped breathing, and I squirmed is a gross understatement through my resistance of death, and then I fell to pieces, and then it was like, imagine needing to spit and swallow at the same time. Imagine being really, really like doubtful you're going to be able to take a next breath. Imagine free falling through like frantic, manic, panicking thoughts, not even be able to grab onto one for a millisecond. Like it was like, just disintegrating me. And I was like, and then totally trapped because I was like in the trip. There's no getting out. There's no EpiPen that goes, yeah. So I would hear the rattle, the shh, 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 and the prayer that the medicine server was singing over me, and that would just, there was a thread, and my consciousness would just grab onto that, and it would be like, come this way, and then I go back into my ego. I'm like, suffer, and then I was just like, then I started wailing, like literally wailing, and then what was really interesting was I started going up octaves in the sound I was making. I was just searching for some reprieve, and the higher the octave my voice went, more reprieve would sort of like come through. And I realized, like I'm getting up into this high octave. I'm like, all of this childhood shame of having a high-pitched voice, of being, all of this shame for being who I was, of being a little boy, of being, a baldy and a fucking pindick, and all of the fucking taunting of, like primary school, and it like, and then I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is some repressed shit. And then I just went, oh my God, I get it. I fucking get it. And I just went, and breathed out with no intention to ever breathe again. And then I went, and crossed over. Every cell dispersed, and I was just in this universal orgasmic wave. So I remember why I wanted to share this, because we're talking about what was it like for my dad to die, right? So this toad trip was the crux of my healing journey, right? One, because it showed me, just let it go, mate. It's not your trauma. Let it go, right? And it doesn't even matter anyway. Cool. That helped me come into my authenticity. Then I died, right? So my dad died less than 12 months later. He died at a time in our journey, our soul journey together, where we had utmost appreciation for each other. There was no more resistance. There was no more judgment. There was no more expectation there was no more shoulds. I was like, I got there. Thank fuck. What a blessing. And I was like, oh my God, I fucking love Dad. And I love that he's here. And I love, it's like, and he's going to fucking drink fucking beers, and he's going to fucking eat sugar, and he's going to charge through the coffees, and he's not going to fucking exercise, and he's not going to go to the doctor for his heart shit. And I fucking love my dad. And what's most important is that I love my dad.
Yeah.
And how cool is that? And the conversations we had in that time were just different, because he didn't feel energetic in the field. That projection wasn't there anymore. So unknowingly, it's like, like my son is a safe place for me, and I him, and we can just fucking jam. So that happened.
That's great.
And then the second part of this was I fucking went through my resistance and fear and distortions of what death is, right? Which was the most fucked up thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
And I suspect Dad would resist it in the same way. I feel like that's partly where I got it, his fear of death and dying. And he died in the car park at his work just after he knocked off. And I suspect he would have grappled with it the same way I did. And I'm even cool with that, because I know and I trust that he's crossed over, and I know what that is. And I trust that. So I feel complete. I feel complete in our soul's journey for this incarnation. I still feel, I'll tell you one last story after this, but still feel our relationship continues, put it that way. It continues with the greater intimacy than we ever had in the incarnated form, which is pretty fucking unusual. And I trust death. Like I trust death. I trust that he is good. I do trust that he's good. So yeah, since then I've had one particular big release. I didn't properly grieve it. I didn't properly go to my despair. I didn't go into my humanity around it till about a year after he died, but I eventually did. And I just got to be like, I'm bummed that he's dead too. I'm bummed. I'm bummed about that. I just went into the disappointment as well and honored that. And that was a really big release that was cool. And that was off the back of, I'm going to rant. I'm not going to talk about that.
Oh, it's good, bro.
It was off the back of my daughter being born prematurely earlier this year, and us being in intensive care with her and blah. So I had to get rid of all the fucking rage that I had pent up around that. And then the grief was under the rage. And then I was like, so... But before I lose this train of thought, the conclusion really here is, using your question, Cal, your prompt as a sort of anchor point, is the death of my father initiated me into my power. Absolutely.
Like a rite of passage. No bigger rite of passage is there.
Yeah, absolutely.
No way.
And when Dad died, this just because it's a cool story. So I get the call. I just finished work. It was a Tuesday afternoon. Mum's like, your dad's getting police escort to fucking Northern Beaches Hospital, and it's not looking good. And I was just like, whoa, this is one of those calls. You don't get many in life, but I'm having one right now. So I was like, shaking straight on the fucking Jetstar, Virgin, blah, blah. Anyway, I get to Qantas. Dad worked for Qantas for 30 years. and it's not loading, and I'm not present at all. And then I'm like, huh, it's not loading. I'm like, huh, it's Qantas. And then I was like, Dad's dead. And I just knew. I was like, oh, Dad's dead. That's what this is. And the second I like acknowledged that, this warmth descended into the room. And I was like, it was like the yummiest warmth that just thick. And it descended into the room and it filled my chest. And this gust of wind went through the house and slammed all the doors. Wow. Shit you not. The sky went orange way too early in the afternoon. Like fucking weird shit just happened. The moment that realization happens, I went outside and this black currawong just flew over the hill, like just waiting for me to see it, and it flew over the hill. And Dad would always say, I'm coming back as a bird. So I was like, all right, there's some fucking synchronicities here. So it sounds like, oh, okay, that could be coincidental. But I eventually got home to Sydney, to the family home. I'm sitting in the kitchen with Mum and my brother. This Mum's just like, obviously, like, what the fuck?
Oh, fuck, yeah.
Were they together?
Yeah, they lived in 40 years. I married.
Fuck, man.
And I'd like, so I'm listening to Mum, and then I'm like, well, you know what, Mum, Dad actually came and visited me. I knew he died before you told me. The second I said that, the kitchen light that I was standing under and one lamp in the living room that I found in the council cleanup as a youngster, and Dad liked it and kept it, went whoop, 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 just started pulsing, those two lights, the one I was under and the fucking lamp. And what was interesting, it wasn't just the lights, my whole ears, my equilibrium was shaking with that. It was like there was it was like an air pressure, whoop, 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 and then stops. So I'm like,
yeah,
you don't believe in non-local reality? Like, fuck off. Like,
Yeah.
there it is. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's my share. Thank you, guys.
It's really good, man, and it fucking helps me a lot hearing that. But I've also had similar things, and like I had a good question I wanted to ask you about it, but yeah, it'll come back to me.
How do you feel like how you talk about taking on other people's pain and trauma? Like, it'd be hard not to take on the pain for your mum, knowing that she's just lost. Obviously, you've lost your dad, right?
Yeah.
But also that she's lost a partner of 40 years. Like, how do you... when you were in that role, did you feel like you were the supporter or she was the supporter? Or did you feel like you were helping each other? Or like, what was that dynamic like between you and your mum?
Yeah, I felt like we were helping each other.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, in those situations, someone has to step forward and someone has to step back, and you follow the process. But it's such a great question. I really appreciate the question because it's part of it. I'm like, Mum's a widow. Mum's whole identity, whole world, it's a whole world she doesn't know. It's a whole identity she doesn't know. And she had a big autoimmune flare-up probably 6 weeks after he died. And so that was her grief pushing through whether she
Liked it or not.
was ready or felt she was ready or not. And she's been super courageous. It's been phenomenal to watch her go, actually, she's getting craniosacral and different sort of therapeutic facilitation. And so, yeah, she's riding the process and acknowledging it as a process of not like, oh, okay, there's point A and, we're in point B now. That's great. And it's a non-linear, grief's completely non-linear journey. So that's a great question, man. And it has been definitely part of my process to feel sad for my mum.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to watch her in her own rite of passage initiation to herself. Yeah.
Yeah, fuck, yeah. It's like, even just thinking about that, it's like, fuck, man, you just feel sorry for, like, you know, 40 years of, like, whatever, breakfast together and those times where it's like all of a sudden you're eating by yourself and it's like, fuck, like, it's hard to imagine it, you know?
Yeah, it is like anything to do with the ego is really hard to imagine death. Like, you know, like I was watching this thing on the pendulum theory the other day, and it's like pendulum swings one way birth, pendulum swings the other way death. It's like, it's like it constantly goes, and the ego is so afraid of it.
Yeah.
I figured it, I feel like I figured it out thoughts wise because I used to be so afraid of it. And I had a big realization in meditation one day. I was like, if you're thinking about it, of course it's going to be scary. If you're not thinking about it, it's not real. And I was like,
That's
so,
Michael Singer, eh?
yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
the ego is, of course, it's afraid of death. It's the most terrifying thing in the planet for your ego is the death of it.
Yes.
But when you really look at what everything is, which is enemy, not enemies, we're not enemies, but energy.
Freudian slip.
yeah, Freudian. Damn it, Jake,
Kill 'em all.
you're fucked. Damn it, Jake, everyone knows who you are now.
You fucked up, man. Your subconscious came through.
You're not actually spiritual, you're an angry cunt. Nah. Oh, fuck, what was I saying?
Hug is a bit of a reverence just for a breather. We're like, whoa, this is an intense chat.
Woo! Yeah, I do.
No, but look, I love what you're sharing because, man, a big part of our friendship has included your fucking deep process of fear of dying. Since, like you met death before a lot of people, as a 17-year-old, and then in losing your mum, and then that your process, part of it included internalizing a lot of stuff, and that manifested in your, it's your story, but like it's cool that I think your journey's been fucking cool with death. You've been getting in relationship with it for a long time.
For sure. And I think like you would have seen how bad I was at the time when mum died. Mainly just like pushing it down and just like forgetting it, which came up in other things.
Yeah.
But yeah, the biggest thing I would say I've learnt and now have tested is when someone you love dies, and it can be tomorrow, it can be now. And you just got to know that can happen. So be grateful for what you have now. But I think that the grieving process takes a long time, and grieve as hard as you possibly can, and cry as hard as you possibly can, and scream as loud as you can. Because like any form of what that looks like for you that you suppress stores in the body.
Yeah.
And when Dad died, straight away I was like, I'm going to fucking own this shit.
Cool.
Fuck all that pussy shit. I'm going to fucking screw the coffin in. I'm going to feel it. Best thing I ever did. Best thing I ever did. And I think anyone going through a dying process with anybody, that's all you can do. That is all you can do.
Yeah, that you kind of can control.
Yeah.
Nothing else, no.
Everything, it's just like, you just got to do your best. And yeah, I'm lucky. I was listening to your story with your dad, and I was loving it because it was like, it's funny how different it is for me, because me and Dad were so best friends and so in touch. We'd talk about death all the time. Like, he loved you. I actually felt like he was in the room then. I had goosebumps, that whole story, dude. I was almost crying. But I was like, he loved you. And I was just like, holy fuck. It was just, I don't know.
Yeah, it's it always makes me wonder about crying and
well
I love it. I don't know. I just felt like there's a huge energy in the room when you're saying that, man.
dude,
It's crazy.
100%. Absolutely. We call it in together with these intentional chats, and,
Yeah.
and your authenticity right now is amazing, Jake,
Mm.
and fully, welcomed and encouraged, of course.
yeah. Did you see that thing I sent you this morning about that guy dying?
No.
Nah, there was this guy, he died and he came back and he told his story, his near-death experience, and it was cool, man. And what I liked about it is it was truthful. Like, as he was telling the story, I could tell, this guy, this was his experience. He's not just bullshitting, you can see in his eyes and the way he's talking. Like, this is it. It's some old dude just chatting. And he's like, I died. He's a firefighter. And he's like, and then I left my body and I was in this, like, basically a galaxy sort of spiritual world. And he goes, and it felt like I was going home. It was just absolute euphoria and happy and bliss. And I saw these three hooded energies. Whoa. And he goes, they sort of had face, but they didn't have a body. They were just like energy, but they were all different, But they were just, straight away I saw them and they were just pure love. Like, they was like excited to see me and I was excited to see them. And they would go, and they were like, so how'd you go? What'd you learn? Like,
No way.
Yeah. And then he's like,
so cool.
and then he was like, how did I go? I was like, yeah. He's like, I didn't have any regrets. I did this. And he goes, and then he said something like, all right, what's the process? Like, because he was so into processes from his firefighting thing. He goes, oh, there must be a process. And he goes, oh yeah, this is another cool thing. He goes, anything he wanted to know in the universe, he goes, it was like an old toy as a kid where you click on the newspaper article or something and you turn this thing and it flicks to the next thing. And he goes, like archaic records of all the information about anything he ever wanted to know, structure, humans, anything. And it's all in there. So it's all knowing. And then he goes, and these energies sort of like laughed at him saying, all right, like, what's the process? And they were like, haha. I was like, yeah, right. Tell us, go on, tell us your process. And then they said they looked at each other and like, he doesn't remember us, eh? And they started laughing to each other and shit. So almost like they were friends with him, and then he was still trying to figure it out, like come back, and they were like laughing like, oh, we know each other, but you'll figure it out soon,
Bit of amnesia.
Yeah. Wow. And I was like, and it was the story was so comforting, man. It was so comforting because it sort of feels like after all this, you learn whatnot, but when you go out there, it's just, it is only bliss. It is only for it. And he goes, it felt like this was the game. And that was where we go hang out, and then we come back to the game and see what we learn and come back. Yeah. And like they just create everything. And it's, I don't know, it was really nice.
Yeah, it's like something other than this, isn't it?
Yeah, like you say your father and that, like you see each other again.
Fuck, it's weird, the energies, man. Like I've had heaps of moments like I just had then. Yeah. Like I've had heaps like that. Well, like for instance, one really big one that came through, you had the light flicker. I had I was listening to a book that this guy messaged me, this in and out breathwork guy, who's a good friend of mine, but never really messages me much, but messaged me and said, my soul's telling me for you to read this book. It told me last night, but I didn't send you it. And then this morning, I had to send you this book. And it's called In the Meantime. I don't know if you know that book, but I only needed to listen to the first 5 minutes of it and I knew what it was about because Dad was always talking about, so Dad left me some money when he died. And I was thinking that morning, I'll get some land. I was like, I'm just going to look for land and get land. The first start of this book, I'd actually like to play the book, but I just can't remember where exactly it is. But the first start of the book was like all talking about how it was just a message from Dad. It's just like you want to be, because it was talking about like what you want, whether you want to be near the beach or you want to be there. And I was like, fuck, that's Dad 100%, And then I spoke to Matt and Paul about it, and Matt Walden, and Matt was like, I did a mandala about my dad, and this bird just followed me all day because Paul told him to do a mandala and invite his dad back into his life because he had gone. And he drew this mandala, and then he goes, and then he just had this bird in London that just did not leave him the whole day. And he's like, that's how they contact you. But anyway, off that, I know it's hectic.
The sweetest, man. That's sweet. There's a fucking bird. Every time I mow the lawn with Soul on my lap, I've got a ride-on mower. There's one like wagtail. It's the same one, and it just follows us around the whole time. When it's just me, it doesn't.
Your property looks like fucking magic. Like that video of it raining the other day out there. Just like the energy there is nuts.
It's we're held because we're in like. Just the lay of the land. Yeah, no, it is. It's really.
How good are wagtails, dude? They're the best fucking birds. That's why it's on my neck, actually.
Yeah, fully. Yeah. I like that tattoo. Yeah. Dad? Dad! That was Pete too. Yeah. But dude, while I have you here,
Daddy,
I really wanted to ask you, because just quickly, not to go into the leg break story with myself, but because Nick was there when I broke my leg. I shattered my right leg. My bone came out of my leg and it went through the trampoline at a trampoline place. And it was just like this horrific accident. Pretty much everyone ran the opposite way but Nick. And I was going into shock and Nick said, breathe. And I breathed and I was like, I know what this is about. I think I said that, didn't I?
You go, I know what this is about.
Yeah. So I knew exactly what it was about. I was a bodyboarder and I felt worthless, had no self-belief, no love, blah, blah, blah. Went on the other direction. But I probably told that on the podcast before. But when we went to the hospital, I had ketamine. I was afraid of psychedelics. And I'm still not clear in my head what actually happened because it was like, I know they were putting my bone back in. You came the whole way. You came.
Tractioning.
They were tractioning my bone. But in my mind, and I want to make sure this story is correct because it's a bit all over the shop in my head because I was kind of out of it. But there was a guy there who, was I giving advice to?
He was the bone setter.
Yep.
Right, and he was the black sheep. of all the nurses and doctors at the he was the guy where it's like, dude, like you're not even in scrubs. Do you remember that? Like he just kind of had like an old band shirt on. Like it wasn't exactly that, but he kind of had that really like sort of scruffy, almost larrikin-y kind of energy. And it was like, well, there's all these official medical people around, and it's like, who the fuck's this dude? And it's like, oh, he's actually pretty important in here. Like he's going to do the plaster and the bone setting. And so that I know exactly who you mean.
Because in my head, he's an old guy with grey blonde hair.
Yeah. He was older. He would have, definitely. He would have been like early 50s, my guess, and like almost like longerish, shaggy grey.
Okay,
blonde.
cool. So I wasn't seeing things. That was definitely
yeah.
And what was going on then? Because it's still heaps foggy. I remember. I just remember I went, like you said, that guy talked about spirits and he saw spirits, and I talked about it on Paul's podcast too, where I saw the shapes of two things and they came to me in the shape of shoulders and heads, and it was Ram Dass and Paul Check.
Huh.
Yeah.
Cool.
And they said, welcome, you've begun your spiritual journey. That's what I saw, in a realm of shapes. Yeah. And I talked to Paul about it on the podcast, and he's like, that's actually the astral plane before you go above that. And again, it was like that warm feeling of like there was so much other than this.
Well, you tuned into that guy specifically, which was like, kind of perfect. It's and you weren't seeing out of your eyes, but you were looking at him, and you said to him, you saw him. So let me kind of expand on that. He had a personality. Like I said, the jovial personality. Obviously, knowing what I know, in psychology sense, that's his armor, right? That's how it keeps him safe. He's the jokester, blah blah. So he can guide and manipulate relationships with that energy, disposition, identity, whatever. So your third eye just went pew, open, fuck, and you looked at him and you just saw right through that sort of like jokester, irreverent, rough disposition of this guy, and you saw right through it, and you went, oh, you're like, you just started kind of profiling this guy.
I don't know. I don't remember any of this.
At the level of his like his truth, like the sweetness of this man, like the genuine. He's in that field because he's a lover. That was the kind of theme. You're seeing the love of this man, and he like it almost stunned him because he was fucking exposed. He's being seen by this fucking motherfucker who's got like 4 humans pulling his fucking ankle and another 4 anchoring his hip in the other direction. And you go, I can see who you are. And he's made these little attempts of like, he's high. But it was like, he was kind of stunned. Like, oh, fuck. I'm being seen right now. It was really, really cool. Really trippy.
Dude, that's cool, man. I never heard about that. Is that what he was saying?
What a day that was, man.
Yeah, I think
I can see who you are.
Yeah, I see you. He's like, I see through your fucking masquerade, you big softy. Like,
I remember you said to me, I said to him, you're not being who you are at home or something.
Yeah. You were calling out those things. Yeah.
I actually have no recollection of what I said to him. Like, I really don't.
It stunned him.
That's weird, you're not in your body. Because I was in a world of black and white shapes. So, fuck.
Who knows if that just changed his whole fucking life.
Yeah.
We don't even know what happened to that guy,
That
went home, left his life.
That was the smoothest, don't you reckon? Like, ambulance was within 15 minutes. Oh, you're going to be in hospital for 6 days before we do surgery. And I was like, yes, master. And I knew inside, I was like, he'll come back tonight.
It was that day.
Yeah, it was that day. Straight in for surgery. Out of there in 4 days.
I remember, after the surgery, I was waiting to see her, and it was like just this moment where you had your own room. It was dimly lit. You've got your morphine button above your head, and we're just like, we just didn't say much. We're just like, okay, we got this.
Yeah.
We got this. Like, we're both at a stage of life where we're like, oh, we weren't really that grounded anyway. Like, this is kind of fucked up, actually.
Yeah, dude.
And you had just moved into to a joint that had the most precarious, slippery timber fucking staircase.
Yeah.
Oh, and I remember
Slipped
you just
down.
watching you walk up them, and I was like,
You know, I slipped down, and put my foot down. Yeah, and held onto the pillars, the wooden pillars above it by one arm, and was like, and then no one helped me, so I just had to let go. And I just fell down the stairs on my hip, and I just laid there and cried for half an hour. It was like this emotional release, dude, of my leg, but really some stuff probably earlier on in life, and I was like,
what's that about, God and Jesus? Fucking hell.
yeah, I know.
That's twisted.
Yeah. Fuck, life is full
Dude,
on, guys.
nah,
And I know
wild.
I know the listeners are probably listening. Like, we just like to talk on this podcast. It feels like we're just talking in like, this is how we'd have these conversations whether we're on
we're just in the
podcast
car
or not. And I
having
hope
fun,
it helps you guys, because I guess everyone's story can fucking really light some shit inside you, like me listening to Nick's dad. And so I really hope it helps the listeners out there, some of the shit we talk.
Yeah, well, I didn't even know what we were going to talk about, you know?
Yeah,
Well,
I know.
I wanted to throw you under the bus, both of you, actually, if you guys are open.
Cheetos?
It's kind of...
Was it the Cheetos earlier?
Yeah, I thought you were on the cleanse, mate. I know they're kettle chips, they're top shelf, but far out. So, it's very much in the theme, right? Because we're talking about, we touched on what it is to be a man in the world. We touched on how to create structure, how to create freedom by establishing structure for ourselves in life through organizing our priorities. We talked about what we want. We talked about what's important to us. We talked about death. We talked about initiation into our manhood. And I see you guys, and I see you are both quickly becoming influential men in the world with your reach, with your following, with your message. So like, you are actively building your legacy, both of you. And I was just interested to kind of like open that up, and almost play like question ask a role.
Yeah, let's do it. I love that shit.
Because you know what they say, like with great power comes great responsibility. So there's the inevitability that your influence has an impact. So your level of awareness in your messaging and in your congruence in life in general will impact people around you, even if it's unintended. So I'm just interested, Cal, maybe you can speak into this. I'm just interested in your experience so far and what you feel your role is as your reach grows.
It's funny because now we're starting to see that more. Like this morning, had brekkie and someone come up to me and say they're on the cleanse, and then we're at Nova Jiu-Jitsu, and the guy in the video is like, "I'm on the cleanse right now." I was like, "Oh," and so yeah, I've always felt hard to, what's the word, to accept the compliment, I guess, to accept, because we get people that write in stuff saying we change, like the guy was in the other day saying his dad changed his life, and these people and this and all that, and I sort of deflect it in the sense of like, oh yeah, I mean, it's just simple shit, we're just doing this, rah, you know. So I'm getting better at accepting that now, to say thank you, you know, instead of deferring it into like, oh, I'm just doing what anyone else would do, you know. It does make me feel like, well, I mean, it's Instagram. That's not the real world, right? But the more I see, and the more people, I guess when we say the average guy or whatever living their life, I do start to see it as more unique, and I do start to see how I believe we're going to help the world a lot, because I just know, like, even some old friends, like some that are still stuck in their ways of like drinking all the time and that, I can still see that they're looking up to me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right on. That's the kind of
like subtly with like
sitting.
I can see that, and I can see they want to make change, and they'll be humorous and say, oh, yes, this, but I can see deep down they want to do what we're doing, you know, and they're just stuck because it's their dopamine at their moment, right? Whatever they're getting. So I feel my role is to inspire. I think that's really what I like to do, is to inspire people to get healthy and train, and I think I'm good at getting them to do that. And I think that's my role in my legacy, is I'm going to inspire people. This is why you're drinking water. I'm not just telling you to drink water because alkaline 7 fucking point whatever. I'm like, I want to uplift them, and even everyone, my friends, partners, everything. I like to uplift people and let them know, oh, you can do this too because I did it, and fuck, I OP 21. You know, like it's cool. Not. It's. I don't know if it's self-love or discipline or whatever it is, but I just know it changed their life so much, man. And just respecting Paul's work, because really those modalities is why we're sitting here right now. It's changed our whole life in the sense of, I used to scaffold, and there's a lot of people like this right now in a job that they don't want to do. I used to scaffold and would feel unfulfilled, but at an age young enough where it wasn't strong enough yet.
Yeah.
You know, and I think about it now, man. If I was still doing what I was doing, say even 5-10 years from now, even right now, it would really start to hit me now. Because you start to get older and things start to change, and it would really start to hit me like, is this what I want to do in my life, you know? Yeah. The moment was when I was at, I still remember this, I was at scaffolding and the boys, and this is when I felt I was thinking different to them, and I was like, and also I had a feeling since I was young, since I was 5 turning 6, I still remember this, that I was meant to lead, and that I didn't want to lead. That was the thing. But in my head, it wasn't like I want to lead to be a leader. It was more like, I got to lead because I got to be a leader. That was the feeling.
Cool, yeah.
You know, like, because I remember there was a footy, and I'm not sure if we spoke about this on the potty or not, right? But when I was 5, and one of the boys kicked a footy, we're all playing, like 20 or 30 of us kids in year 1, kicked a soccer ball in a direction, and we lost it. And then I remember at that age thinking, all right, where did he kick it from? And I walked over there. His foot was on this angle, so it's got to be going across there, and he kicked it about that hard. So if I point, it should be right there. And I remember pointing and looking and finding the ball, and then like, oh, there's the ball, boys, you know. And I remember at that stage, this is before I was 6, man, thinking, fuck, no one else around here thought about doing that. Wonder why, you know? And straight logic with my head, like it's all logic and the masculine.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh yeah, I know I got to be the leader because I'm not emotional. I'm not going to I'm constantly thinking about what's the best decision possible for survival of the tribe if I was the chief.
Cool.
No matter what. And remember the thing you said years ago, man, about how cool that is, and that same way of saying it, like what advice would you give to your child?
Yeah.
That's the sort of advice I would give. Like I always thought about. I remember when we used to punch on heaps when we were like teenagers and shit. I would take mental notes about who's at wrong here. Oh, my friend's at wrong. This person should probably punch him. I'm not going to go king hit him in the side of the head, like, because we're at wrong here, you know. And there's I would think like that instead of just like backing my friend, knocking this dude out, even though it's my friend. It just didn't feel ethically right. I don't know, because I knew there was I don't know. Yeah, well, but yeah, that was the feeling anyway.
That kind of like segues into like a question I was sitting on, and wasn't gonna turn the heat up on you, but I will, because that was a beautiful answer. It's like what you described there to me sounds like there's an ingrained awareness of accountability that you possess, which is fucking essential in leadership. So I'm wondering, as you grow as a leader, which you are in, you know, fine form and fast pace, what is your means, or what is your source of accountability to your own leadership? Like, do you have someone that in the context of leadership specifically, do you have like a mentor or an elder or someone that can be like, hey, pull your fucking head in, or something, you know, or did you see this, or did you think about it like that?
Yeah, me.
No, well, Jake's really good at supporting. You know, he'll always support you. Like even when you've done something wrong, whatever, he'll let you know.
I'm like a big bra.
Yeah, what he's good at is like, it's all right, man. Like, say this is one of the things. Say I wanted to quit weed, and then I didn't quit weed, and I judge myself from like fucking weed. He'd be like, it's all right, bro. Like, don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Compared to like judging, there's no judging. Cool. That's nice. Because it never works judging.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it makes you want to quit weed more. It's like, oh, I didn't joke. Oh, I'm going to do it this time. You know, whatever that may be. So it's from like not really in my physical circle, but I constantly refer to Paul in my head.
Yeah.
Because I remember Stephen People once said about, I think it was something with a chocolate bar. He was laughing. It was high as fuck. He was like, what would Paul do? Or what would Paul say? And it was something, whatever my decision or choice was, like, what would Paul say? And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, probably wouldn't say that. That's probably not the optimal choice, right? So I constantly refer back to Paul's method, and my guide or my teacher is the pain teacher. So that's what makes me reflect. If there's any pain at all in my life, whether that's emotional, physical, I will constantly never really go into a victim mindset of it. And I'll think, how am I at fault here? And how can I make a logical decision that's going to not let this happen again? And the optimal decision, I guess, which is suboptimal, optimal, passive.
Totally.
Because sometimes, it's passive and you're doing fuck all and you're like, well, this wouldn't happen if I did this. So I'm in this situation because of this. I think about like when I went through a breakup, and actually we spoke about it at the time when I was probably like a week into it, and I was feeling it at the time pretty hard. And you gave me some good advice and whatnot. But I remember thinking, you can twist it in your head and say, okay, yeah, but she shouldn't have done this and this, blah, blah, blah. But straight away I went, all right, how am I here right now from my decisions? And it was because I didn't communicate better before that of what my boundaries were and what I'm okay with, what I'm not okay with. And as soon as it was crossed, for me, the relationship sort of had to end. But I never communicated that to her.
Yeah, right.
So she never knew I wouldn't be okay with that, or, things like this. So it's like, and I have no regrets at all. I'm fucking so happy right now, man. Like, and from that, it really built me up into a way better man of just that awareness and of like, I'm going to set my life up and just work hard. And in this period right now, I'm just working hard. I want to set my life up to be, and we're getting there and it's paying off so much, and then I'll worry about all the women and kids in the future, because that's not really on my radar right now. Girls and kids aren't on my radar right now.
Sweet.
But I know next couple of years, they probably will be. I want to travel, I want to see the world, I want to do all that. And then I'll be like, all right, now I'll choose a girl to have, give a life to and have children with, and that'll come later. But I'm not really thinking about it too much at the moment. So yeah, I guess the pain teacher is what I think about, and that's just Paul's teachings. Yeah. But no one physically, that's, I'd say, yeah.
I'd say you look at a lot of people. I look at you as, remember Kiki had Bobby Runenfoff's son, Mevon. He's a great guy. And she said, he's pure potential. I look at Cal like pure potential with logic. He mixes the two really well. And that's my favorite thing about you, is just like, yeah, man, we can do that.
Yeah. I think we can do anything.
Yeah.
As long as we have logical steps to like, all right, A, B, C, D.
Everyone teaches you, hey, like even Andrew Tate, like I know everyone hates his misogyny or whatever they call him, but there's some good in him. Yeah, there's some good in everyone.
Yeah,
if we can learn, if we can take the best things in, like he's taught me how to work hard. Paul Check has always taught me so much. There's good. Even your enemies teach you a lot.
Yeah, you can learn from take the best from people. Totally. I want to take that. Let's leave that. Like,
Have you heard the expression, if you're easily offended, you're easily manipulated?
Yeah,
that makes so much sense.
So people, it's like, shut the fuck up. If you were your own inner authority, that wouldn't be an issue, right?
Exactly.
If that fucking dude's message is so fucking impactful, what the fuck is your message, right?
Yeah. Wow, that's
it's like go focus on your legacy and shut the fuck up. So being so offended.
Yeah, because cunts who are doing shit don't bring people down, man. It's like let's just say, I don't anyway, and we don't. Like I don't look at some guy out there who is doing a pelvic tilt video and going, fuck it, he's doing it wrong. Yeah. Like I'm like, oh, good on ya.
Yeah,
fuck yeah,
totally.
like
yeah.
But the other side of the coin here is completely related to the question that I'm asking, right? It's like that level of influence and leadership, there has to be awareness of the impact that messaging has consciously and unconsciously on others. So there's the accountability element as well that's important in leadership, to be like, to have a council that can call you out when an unintended impact has landed and been created destruction. So like,
and created pain somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And that pain will come to you somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that you'd probably be up there for me for that. I also, a great lesson I had the other day is I kind of lost it at a client because it's been, I feel like my ego is getting a little bit more, but I'm also pushing the boundaries with my ego and being like, you know what, like, fuck it, I'll wear my cowboy hat. I'll wear, like,
speak your truth.
who
man.
gives a fuck?
Yeah,
At the end of the day, I am the Joker. I've got that in me. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And the other day I had a client and he kept pushing my button. He kept going, when am I getting in? When am I getting in? He's been a client for 2.5 years. It's like, leave me alone. Like, I've got busy as shit. I've moved on, blah, blah, blah. But the truth is he paid me a fee, which was a lesser fee back then, and he didn't get all his sessions. And that's what we agreed to at the time. So I took accountability for that, and I didn't at the start. And he rang. I was like, "What do you want?" I was like, I lost it at him. And I was like, I've got all this shit going on, and I hung up. And then I instantly saw the mirror, and I was like, you know what? This is my greatest teacher right now. I lost my center. I shouldn't have lost my center. I rang him back and I said, "I'm so sorry, dude. I'll get you in this date. I've had a lot going on. That was just loaded. My dad died. This, which." Definitely became a part of it for me. And and then I had a good heart to heart when I saw him, and I was like, fuck. And it was a good wake up call for me. It was like, you know what? Own your shit. And
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. You like result
because
you ended the chaos.
I ended the chaos, but real men, I believe, like Mike Tyson saying sorry to Teddy Atlas, who, you know, the story about that was he touched some girl's ass who was a minor or whatever. It was maybe his daughter, and he pulled a gun on him. And Mike Tyson the other day said, you know what, I was wrong. I'm really sorry. And I just find so much power in that. And I think that I always want to be in this ever-changing thing that I call myself. I always want to be able to own that and be able to say sorry and I was wrong, because I'm wrong a lot.
So that's, you know, I love what you've both shared, and that story is like so fucking relevant. You know, that's a prime example of like where my question originates, as, you know, in my curiosity and my want to support you guys thriving. And it's, I think the encompassing piece that we are exploring here is integrity. And so you're never as unsafe as when you're out of integrity as a leader. But if you do what you did and you clean up your mess the way you did, you're good. Right? You can trust yourself, the people around you can trust you, and you have space to be mistaken. You have space to not get it right every single time as well. So it's cool. It's a mature leadership that is like welcoming of their own humanity, their own humanness, and transparent in that, and also like fucking self-responsible enough to go, fuck, that was a projection onto that dude.
Yeah.
We had an agreement. That's as black and white. That's as fucking simple as it gets. Did I uphold the agreement? No, I'm out of integrity with this fella.
Yeah.
Yeah, so fucking unreal.
Yeah, that's good. It's constantly self-reflecting, improving.
And learning too. And I'm not going to, like, I did mantra the other day for half an hour straight, and someone cut me off and I was like, fuck you. You know, like, fuck.
Did the police move where you tap the back and they spin off?
I think being humane is a big part of it, and knowing where you lose your center, and that's the biggest thing I've learnt to work on.
Because how fucking boring is someone who doesn't fucking lose their center? You know?
Yeah,
you're like, you're bullshit.
Yeah.
You're not that polished.
Yeah.
How do you know? It's because you're a fucking human being with red blood. Like, we are flawed, fundamentally flawed, and that's okay. That's the fun of it.
That is okay.
That's how we connect.
How good is knowing that when you figure out that that's okay? Like, I decided years ago to love my shadow.
Yeah.
And my ugliness and my anger and my judginess and the shit that I got to work on, you know what I mean? And I don't say I'm not gone. It's just that I can see it more now.
Yeah.
So
yes,
that's the work.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, seeing it,
Yeah.
Seeing it, and then it's not this crazy power that ripples over you.
Most people, like, are great at making you see your power. Like there's times where Callan's really good at studying, man, and sometimes I get a little bit jealous, but I love that.
Yeah.
Because
And then you go study.
then I go study.
Yeah,
and
he
I
just got
also
this chess book, and I'm like, all right, YouTube fucking chess plays. Like, he does a jiu-jitsu comp. I'm like, that inspires me. Like, all right, now I got to like, that's being around competitive men. I think is a fucking important thing. Hey?
it happened when you
Totally.
started with Kiki, bro. I remember I used to be really jealous of you doing that mentorship.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, I want to do Czech stuff.
True. Yeah.
And then I was like, luckily I was really jealous with girls at a young age, and it came from lack of self-love.
Yep.
So when jealousy comes up now, I'm like, you little fucker.
There
Like,
you are.
yeah,
Come here. Come
there
and have
you
a
are.
hug. It's the last bit. Come here.
Pretty much.
I'm
love it.
driving, not you.
Exactly. And I think, man, a lot of people feel jealousy, and it's there for a reason in times, but yeah.
It's the difference between your shadow being here and staring you,
Yeah.
Yes.
or it being here and you staring it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the best way to embrace that is to be okay with your shadow never being resolved.
Yeah.
It may and it may not, right? But if you have this judgment that it must be gone and only then can I, it's like, nah,
Yeah.
probably won't go. So long as you stay in relationship with it, it's not going to rule the roost. Your inner child's not going to get in the driver's seat. You drive, it comes with you.
Yeah, and how you were saying, I think you said it last time on the potty, man. I think Joe told you something like that. Like, it's okay not being okay. You know?
Yeah. She said, can you accept that right now you can't accept?
Yeah. There you go.
I'm like, oh my God, I feel so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can do that. I can do that.
That's actually pretty easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like you said then, man, when it's in front of you and you witness it, you witness the thought before it becomes spoken into, whether that's actions or spoken out to the world,
Yes.
whatever you're about to say. So that becomes the power, because the thought didn't get a chance to change your reality. Yeah?
Right. You claim your power of choice
Yeah.
rather than it choosing for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Flipping it as well with let's just say what's a good one, like jealousy. I support this person instead of feeling jealous by him.
Yeah, it feels
And,
nice.
and it takes everything away.
Yeah, the reframe.
Like
yeah.
that was a big one with a girlfriend.
Yeah.
I support her going to fuck another guy, basically, and going to be happy and enjoy her life. That's hard, but that sets you free.
Yeah, it fucking does. Yeah. That's literally.
I love
yeah.
her. I mean, as much as I possibly can in this situation. It's like, that's hard, but I keep saying it's hard, but it was hard at the time. I would say it's a little bit easier now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the future?
Yeah.
What courses, what mentorships, what are you doing? What are the people
me.
listening can jump on and start working with you, bro?
What a convo!
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to be big.
Yeah. Delightful. How delightful. So yeah, immediate future. Next week I have a 6-week group coaching course for women called Essence.
Sick.
I ran that at the end of last year. And it was born of requests from the community, from, the people that follow Rhythm Health. Lots of women would be like, hey, when are you doing something I've been doing men's work for about 7 years now and focusing, always coaching anybody, but often my programs are geared towards men's work. So anyway, there was this request and I was like, you know what? I'm going to make something. Like, I hear you and I fucking love that you are hungry to like do the work. So I made this 6-week holistic, a group coaching experience that is very much, it's called Essence. And that is what it serves. It serves connecting to one's individual essence and then learning the blockages to that coming through, and then also learning the tools and the frameworks and the structure and the community support and the accountability in actually bringing that through and expressing one's authentic essence. And fucking hell, the last one was like way better than I had higher expectations. It fully surpassed it. And we had 30 women in there.
Wow.
And they showed up. Like
chicks show up, huh?
Man, I
They're
was
ready to do the work, huh?
so inspired.
Yeah.
And you know what I really love as a coach and a facilitator, I'm like, use me. For fuck's sake. Like, it's built. We're here. We've got our forum. Ask me the questions. Like, that's what I'm here for. But then we feed the container. And so there was so much of that. And there was so much life force in that and so much alchemy in each individual intention that was, you know, placed into the alchemical pot of our group. It was amazing. So anyway, love that. The next one starts Thursday next week. So I'm taking in a new intake. That's still open. And then for my men's mentorship that I run, this will be the 7th run of it. That starts 5th of February, and that's a 3-month container. That's a deep dive journey too, and it's a structured journey. We have an online portal that has a curriculum, a pre-recorded curriculum. We do group coaching. There's a bunch of one-on-one coaching as well, which is always amazing. It's just so potent, that one-on-one, you know, work. And then the group coaching supports that and amplifies that. And we also have a forum as well throughout that 3 months, which is it's a private forum where any questions, any shares, any reflections, any fucking questions are welcome. So that kicks off 5th of Feb, and so that's open for application at the moment, man. So the near future is that stuff. In my 12-month vision, I have workshops created, communication workshop, which I'm really excited for. It's like let's say, you know, holistic, but it's like multi-dimensional communication. It's like, this is what we do. This is these are the roles as communicators, and then this is all the meta communication skills that help you become a master communicator. So I want to teach that in about a 4-hour workshop. And then I'm putting together an in-person. So the first men's work offering that I ever offered was called Conquest, and it was a 6-week in-person group coaching experience, basically. And we go through different themes each week. I'm bringing that back.
Sick.
And I'm bringing bringing in other facilitators as well. So it won't just be me offering facilitation, gifts, teachings, experiences like that. So that's in the formation phase. So, and then one-on-one coaching is always on the table for me as well.
Cool.
So that you can just book that in through my website.
Nice.
Rhythmhealth.com?
Rhythmhealth.com, yeah. RHYTHM health.com.
Nice. And Rhythm Health on Instagram. Check all this stuff out.
Yeah.
It's all the good stuff.
Thanks.
Yeah. Love your vision, man. Yeah. I want to see more content from you.
Yeah, wow.
It's the hard thing, right? Because you're so living what you're doing, but people need it, bro.
Yeah, you guys are the role models for that. Far out. I'm like so far in your wake. Like, whoa, wait up, guys. Whoa, 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 whoa. Well, you're like, bam, 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 bam. It's all such good quality.
You know what the biggest tip I got, man, that I now realize is putting someone on way sooner than you think. People think they like someone that helps you do that. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because with Harry, like we put him on, man, and he's fucking it's changed our business. It's just like we're launching it out now. We couldn't do that by ourselves. Like we could, but we weren't going to because energy and other shit we're doing.
We didn't even answer any emails. Like we had 3,000 emails.
Yeah, we were just so bad at it.
Wow,
and it just wasn't what we're good at. You know, I don't want to be good at it either. So it's like, it's really important. As soon as there's like fucking a little bit of money there put aside, even for a day, a week or something, it's so worth it. It's so worth it. I've really noticed that they pay for themselves relatively quick, and people live in this fear of like, oh, I can't afford that yet because this is fuck it. If you can start that leap, it really made all the difference for us. And I think that's what will hold a lot of businesses back a lot further. Even we nearly didn't do it straight away. We only did it because we dropped 11 grand on this business mentor meeting. They're like, well, this is what you got to do now. I'm like, fuck, all right, just pay 11 grand to you. Better fucking do it. And glad we did, you know?
Yeah.
Nice.
So that was the fourth pillar was a video guy. No, third pillar.
Yeah.
And we were just like, and then we listened to this podcast and the guy's like, how do you expect your brand to get out there if there's not a camera in your face?
Yeah.
And I was like, shit. And I just think like from what we've learned so far is definitely that. I was like, that's almost like for me, like number one. And like someone as marketable as you, See it
Yeah.
like talking to Sheridan about it yesterday on the podcast as well. Like,
Yeah.
holy shit! Like,
Yeah, it's
you
like
see-
he was saying when he posted 4 times a day, he got twice the results of posting twice a day. You know what I mean? Like more sort of was better.
It's simple maths, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it
it's-
has to, right? Creating shit. Like,
that's more money, but not only is it more money, it's more freedom. It's more you spreading your whole legacy to the world, which is what the world needs.
Totally.
because the money just buys
So-
these cameras. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we don't really see the money. It just goes back into the business. But then it's like,
cameras.
yeah,
We got 7 now. There's one like directly
GoPro
down.
on my chest.
yeah, and like you know, Jake just loves the best shit, and so do I. So like, all right, fuck,
Yeah,
what is it?
none of those look
Yeah.
fucking shit. They
It's
look
like
Nah.
next level.
I got some overkill cameraman that's like I don't even use anymore, and it's fucking. I got this Mac Studio. It's like the best Mac thing. I haven't turned my computer on in like 2 months.
yeah.
You don't need to now. We've got a video guy.
But Harry just moved into my house, a video guy. So now
Oh,
he's gonna
sweet.
now he's gonna film more home content and stuff, and now he can use that Mac that I got sitting there. So
yeah, which would be be sick to see more of that stuff of you this year, which I know you were talked about. And I reckon that'd
So
be
keep
fucking
saying it
sick.
till you see it. I appreciate the
Yeah.
I appreciate the encouragement and the loving boot up the ass of like you say, how it's like later isn't the time, now is the time
Yeah.
to do it. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, it's like-
fully.
it's
Happens
like-
quick, bro.
Yeah, it's like you seeing the mental emotional stuff that, you know, for us holding accountability for, you know, our message to the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what I see that angle of like, okay, get the camera in your face. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's the same thing, 100%. Yeah.
Let's
100%.
fucking all grow.
What's up?
And you.
I love it, dude. But thank you so much for coming
Yeah,
on.
Thank you.
Fuck.
Thank you.
We've got to get you and Juliet on as well.
Oh, that'd be
Love to
Yeah,
have.
group
I
hunt
said
is
that the
sick.
other day to her in a text message. I think you were in the text message too. I don't know.
No, what's
Wait, what?
You have a number?
No, it was something about the cleanse, and I was like, got to get you guys on soon.
Fuck yeah,
yeah. So,
that'd be a hot seat.
dude,
Yeah,
I know.
that
I'd
would be
love
cool.
to delve into all the sex stuff, like,
yeah.
and relations. Like, fuck, you guys are a power couple, eh?
Oh mate, we're two humans who choose to show up in our fullest capacity that we have
Yeah.
any day or moment. Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
it.
Love that.
Yeah, we'll do that. All right.
All right.
All
Well,
right, love you guys.
Love you.
Appreciate
Yeah.
you. Thanks everyone.
thanks for listening. Do as we say,
yeah.
not as we do.
Subscribe and like and all the things again.
Yeah. Like and
Yeah.
subscribe. Love you guys. Thank you.